Hello everybody, Ketshi1383 with Ketshi Gaming. I wanted to do a Sonic Frontiers first impressions. It's a little bit past that, but I still wanted to do it. So I haven't exactly had time to properly do this when the game was initially released, but I think a week might be a bit far off for some people, but otherwise, for those who might be on the edge of the fence, who knows? So I was kind of busy. I had 2 exams last week, along with some programming I had to do, and it kept me busy, so I wasn't able to do it. So I'm doing it now. So that's where you're wondering why I'm coming out with it now instead of then. That's why. Anyways, so this is going to be my first 3D Sonic game that I ever played. And through pure osmosis alone, I am more than aware of the previous Sonic games and how terrible they have been received, outside of maybe Sonic Mania, which is technically, I guess, a 2.5D. I mean, it's like 3D textures, but it's a side scroller. And the only other time I've ever played a Sonic game was on the Game Gear. I never played it on the Genesis ever. I own the games. I got them on sale when the Sonic movie came out for like $1 each. But, so, this will be my first impression of Sonic. Now, I know there was some criticism of previous Sonic games in that they didn't use an open world setting to let Sonic run free. In this case, they seem to have learned from that and remedied that by allowing multiple, I shouldn't say multiple, vast amounts of open space for you to just sprint around and run. But in order to break up the monotony, they have things located around the map, like rails that you can grind on, jump pads that you can go on. Some of it's automatic, but some of it is not quite. You do have to pay attention to basically use Sonic's attack to pop, like, I guess there are these bubbles, and if you mess up, you'll plummet into the ocean or some other place, and then you'll have to either get back up to get to the rails. And so far, it is pretty fun. I'm enjoying myself. I'm enjoying the combat. I'm enjoying the speed, the openness of being able to just take Sonic anywhere. The voice acting actually isn't too bad compared to what I've seen and heard from Sonic games in the past. I can't really speak too much about the plot right now, mainly because I don't want to spoil it, but 2, don't really know much about it other than it takes place in a virtual-ish world. So if you're watching the screen now, it's telling me to do something I totally forgot how to do. So if you're like, why are you failing to do this? That's because I forgot what it was after not playing for several days. Anyways, moving on. So when I was playing for maybe, I don't know how long it was, 3rd or 4th time, I started actually really playing the game. I came to this conclusion that it kind of reminded me a little bit of Breath of the Wild. Now, hear me out. I'm not saying exactly it's similar. It's not the same. But they do have like these sort of speed shrines that you can go into. They're pretty similar to the shrines in Breath of the Wild, where you have challenges that you have to complete. Most of them are pretty much the same, like get an S rating, collect all the red coins, collect enough rings at the end. I think they're actually tokens, not coins, but anyways, collect enough rings at the end without getting hit or anything like that, or if you do get hit, you have to collect so many rings. But you also have to, did I say beat it in a certain amount of time? Yeah, get like an S rating. Anyways, so the shrines are very much like these little speed challenges. that you have to do, or these various challenges in these shrines, kind of similar to that of Breath of the Wild. And that's sort of what reminded me of it, along with the vast openness of the whole entire game. And I've only experienced a couple of islands. I don't know what else I'm in store for right now. But it's definitely a pretty looking game. It has some really neat music, actually. And I guess if you're a Sonic fan, this is probably a dream come true in terms of the 3D Sonics. Having a Sonic game that will finally address not letting Sonic run free in a vast open area. Now, there are some light RPG elements. Things you can increase, like the number of rings you can hold, Sonic's speed. I really can't tell that much of a difference, to be honest. And they probably do that on purpose, because if it's too fast, it becomes a little uncontrollable. It kind of is. So when you do these little shrines... this isn't exactly one. This was a sort of... I guess there's two different styles of shrines that I've come across. There's side-scrolling 2D shrines, and then there's the 3D ones. So the 2Ds are kind of homages to the original Sonic the Hedgehog games, while the other tracks are more or less from Sonic's back. There's not really too much of a 3D element on it, since you just go straight forward. You do get to select different paths with both types of tracks. And it is some challenge to some of these tracks, getting some of the goals for it in order to get keys. Particularly is getting a S rating on the tracks, which is beating the track in a certain amount of time. Now, the only real gripe I have is when you are on the tracks where Sonic's back is to you. The controls can be a bit squirrely, is the best way I can think of it, or to put it, in that Sonic will be running forward, and then you go left or right, but you find out that you're gonna miss something that you don't want to miss, and you try and touch the analog stick lightly. You'll either not move at all, because it's not quite enough movement, or you accidentally just touched it a little too much, and he'll go way off from where you originally touched, or off of where you originally wanted to go, based off just even some of the lightest touches. I mean, I found out that it's better to use the shoulder buttons than the analog stick in that case, but that wasn't until afterwards. Go figure. But other than that, I haven't had too many gripes with the game. The combat, although simple, is actually satisfying. There's definitely a speed element there, which they did focus on. And I can't speak for Sonic fans personally, since this is technically the second Sonic game that I've played in some length outside of the Game Gear one. But if you've never played a Sonic game, this game is fun. I'm enjoying myself a lot playing this game. I love the open worldness. I like the speed. There's somewhat of a decent amount of challenge. If you're clumsy like me, you're gonna get hit. But I've figured out ways on top of unlocking different abilities that have made it a much easier experience on me in terms of the combat. So if you have an opportunity to play this game, I would probably actually suggest it. Go ahead, support the blue blur, and make sure that future Sonic games actually have a future, unlike previous iterations of Sonic. So if you made it this far into the video, thank you for watching. Have a good one.